the SNAP outreach volunteers? Okay.
Yes.
All right. And then I remembered last time when I was here on Microsoft Teams, I remembered that I had to reshare my screen in order to give the presentation. So do that again. Now is it in a presentation form? Okay. So again, my name is Alex Cragen. I'm the food security advocate at Utahns Against Hunger. So Utahns Against Hunger, our mission is to increase access to food through advocacy, outreach, and education. We do that on the state and federal level. We talk to elected officials. We also do a lot of work with the general population, educating them about federal nutrition programs, what their qualifications are, and some of the benefits are around applying for them. And then part of my work is our outreach program. I am in charge of providing resources, materials, training information for organizations that are engaging in outreach around federal nutrition programs. And today I'll be talking about the SNAP program. And it'll be from a sort of a high level aspect of the program itself. I won't go into necessarily a ton of detail because, again, I don't want to overwhelm the group with too much information, but I'm also happy to answer any questions you have. So if you have a question during the presentation, feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat, and I'm happy to answer them. So the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and the program's name is shortened as SNAP. It's also formerly known as the Food Stamps Program, was created in 1977 with the passage of the Food Stamp Act. They renamed the program in the early 90s. And the program itself is renewed every 5 years in what they refer to as the Farm Bill. And the Farm Bill sort of incorporates all the aspects of the Department of Agriculture. The SNAP program itself is the largest and most successful federal anti-poverty program in the United States. So the first one thing I wanted to kind of go over is what is the SNAP program itself. So when someone applies, and based on their income and their expenses and their assets, they may be eligible for SNAP benefits. What happens is once they are qualified, they will receive a card. It's an EBT card. And it looks like this here. It's called the Horizon card. And what they can use that money for is for purchasing unprepared foods. So, for example, they can use that to buy produce, bread, most things you can find at a grocery store. They can buy things that are partially prepared, such as frozen foods or Hamburger Helper. They can also buy things like oil, sugar, salt. They can buy dessert items with it as well. There are some restrictions, though, with regards to the SNAP program, what people can't buy. So with SNAP benefits, you can't go to a restaurant and purchase food there. You also can't go to the grocery store and go where they have the hot bar where you can get like heated up mac and cheese or anything like that. They can only get unprepared food items. And when I talk to people, I kind of say, you can't go and buy a sandwich, but you can go buy the bread, the cheese, the meat, and the condiments to make that sandwich. If that makes sense. Also, you can't buy alcohol or tobacco, and then just non-food items in general. So hygiene products, cleaning products, those kind of things are not eligible in terms of a purchase with SNAP benefits. Why should organizations be looking at SNAP outreach, and why should people be talking to clients about SNAP? So if you were to take a snapshot of food insecurity rates here in Utah prior to the pandemic, and food insecurity is defined as a lack of access to food, specifically access to food in a way that would be provide what you require in terms of nourishment, caloric intake to live a quality life. And that comes in many different forms. So, for example, there are households where they don't necessarily know where their next meal is coming from for tomorrow. Food insecurity also comes in forms where parents are foregoing meals so their children are able to eat, or skipping meals so that they're able to extend their food budget for that period of time. So it comes in many different forms. Anyways, back to my initial talking point. Prior to the pandemic, 1 in 12 households were experiencing food insecurity here in Utah. Flash forward to about May of last year, that number had more than doubled to roughly 1 in, 1 in 6 households. And then this information is based on a study done by Northwestern University, and they recently updated that number to 1 in 5 households are experiencing food insecurity. And for BIPOC households, meaning Black, Indigenous, people of color, that number is more like 1 in 3 to 1 in 4 households are experiencing food insecurity. So there's a lot of households that are experiencing need due to economic sort of pressures here in the state of Utah, and SNAP is one way to address that. Another reason for organizations to be looking at SNAP outreach is there's a lot of opportunity to engage households about it. In 2019, there was a study done by our national partner, the Food Resource and Action Committee, and they found that of households that were eligible for SNAP, only 70% of them were enrolled in the program. So there was a whole, almost 1/3 of the population that could possibly have been receiving those benefits, but chose to not enroll for a number of reasons. And that could be either because they're not aware of the program, they don't know it exists, and that they don't know they might be eligible. It could be a lack of access to resources. They don't have access to a computer. They don't have access to an application in their primary language. They don't have access to the information that they need to apply. And so there are organizations like Utahns Against Hunger, like Neighborhood House, that are out there to provide that application assistance. And finally, the major aspect of the lack of enrollment around SNAP is stigma. People don't necessarily want to receive help from the government. They don't necessarily think that this program is designed for them, that this is only for the, quote, truly needy. And in all actuality, SNAP itself as a program is designed for both short-term and long-term needs. And from here on out, I'm going to kind of talk about some talking points when talking to households about this program, some strategies, ways to sort of engage them, especially if they're hesitant or oh my goodness, they're hesitant to applying for the program. But also, I'll also briefly talk about our SNAP calculator, which is a great resource and tool for screening individuals. And I'll go over that in a minute, but first I want to go over those talking points I mentioned earlier. So first, when having and engaging conversations with individuals about the SNAP program, if you don't necessarily know the answer to a question, so say they come up to you and they ask something about, say, eligibility with regards to immigration, and you don't know the answer to that question, let them know that you do not know that answer and that you want to redirect them or refer them to somebody at Neighborhood House. Questions are like an opportunity for them to have an in-depth conversation with Roll or with Rocio. Also, providing the wrong information might deter somebody from applying. And, part of the effort to do outreach is wanting to empower those families, wanting to provide them with the most information that is accurate and informative to them. Some of the questions that you can be asking somebody if they're, you're engaging with them and you think this might be an opportunity to ask them if they've applied for SNAP. One of them, it could be indirectly, are you struggling to afford groceries, or are you struggling with other household expenses? Are your children enrolled in free and reduced lunch, or have you applied for other programs like WIC? Sort of one way to sort of get at the question without having to ask specifically about the SNAP program itself. Another way is to then directly ask them, have they heard about the SNAP program? Have they heard about the food stamps program? Colloquially, people often refer to it as food stamps. There's been a more than 30-year plus campaign to sort of start referring to it as SNAP, but it's still referred to as food stamps. So asking if they've heard of it or if they've applied for it. If they've applied for it and they had a negative experience with the application, that's also one of those great ways to say, well, let's talk more about this with Rocio, or it's an opportunity to have that warm handoff there. If they say, oh, I applied 2 years ago and I only received a small amount of money, it wasn't really worth my time to apply. And one way to reply is, well, there's been some recent changes with the program. Let me connect you with Rocio. She's happy. She'll happily walk through some of the questions that you may have, or some of the experience you may have had in the past. So again, that's sort of like if they sort of are hesitant or if they don't necessarily have had a great experience, it's a great opportunity there to sort of engage in that longer conversation with them. Other talking points about the program is kind of designed around sort of addressing some of the myths and stereotypes about the program. One, SNAP is not only great for helping households address their food insecurity needs, it's also a great way to generate economic activity, because what happens is someone is going and taking those SNAP dollars to a local grocery store. They're using that money and paying the cashier, and then the store goes and uses that money to pay for the wages of the cashier, the transportation costs for produce, other costs associated with running a grocery store. So it kind of compounds and grows and sort of generates additional activity there. For every dollar that's spent in SNAP benefits, $1.75 in economic activity is generated. So it's a great way to sort of like not only, again, help families, but help their community at large. SNAP is also a great way for families to afford other bills. SNAP provides that flexibility. Oftentimes when families are in financial crisis, one of the first things that gets reduced is a food budget. Families often have to stretch those dollars that they normally would have spent to pay for fresh produce or, whole wheat bread, and instead buy things like ramen noodles or potatoes, things that will, fill them up, but it won't necessarily sustain them. And SNAP is one way to sort of have dedicated funds for that household where they know that money is going to be going to their grocery budget and not have to worry about having to apply those to things like utilities or rent. And finally, SNAP is funded by your tax-paying dollars, and therefore you are entitled to apply for them. This program is designed for any and all household shapes and sizes as long as they meet the income criteria. So it's not designed for what they refer to as the quote truly needy. It's designed for anyone who is in need. Another talking point is when engaging in the conversation, there's a notion that a lot of people that are on SNAP are mostly adults that are quote unquote unworthy of the program. And in all actuality, the program itself constitutes mostly children who are receiving these benefits. So combating that myth that this is only adults are using these benefits. The majority of people that benefit from this program are children and their parents, or children and their guardian. And then also SNAP benefits, even though it's a great program, and all in all it's a fairly modest program. The average benefits can vary anywhere between $25 to $65 depending on household size. There's a minimum amount that is available to households and a maximum amount, but we won't go over that. But it's sort of based on a sliding scale, and most beneficiaries are on that lower end of the spectrum rather than on the higher end. Are there any questions so far?
And you guys feel free to write the questions in the comments, and I'll make sure to pass it to Alex.
I'm going to go back here real quick to the SNAP calculator, and we're actually going to walk through that real quick. So let me exit screen share and then re-enter screen share. Can you guys see the benefits calculator?
Yes, we're able to see.
Okay, so here is Utahns Against Hunger's website. We have a calculator on our website. It takes 2 to 3 minutes to fill out, and it's a great way to see if someone may be eligible. Now, this does not determine eligibility. They would still have to apply. They would still have to go through the whole paperwork process. But this is sort of one way to sort of like get out of the gate and say, is it worth their time to go and apply? So the first thing that's asked as part of the calculator is, is anyone in the household a senior or a person with disabilities? Yes or no?
Hey, Alex.
Yes.
Sorry, guys. This is Rocio. I was meeting with a client and wasn't able to join in until now. But in order to shake off the post-lunch sluggishness, why don't we role play this?
All right.
I'm going to have Surya be the volunteer, and I'm going to have Catherine be the client. if you guys can go ahead and unmute yourselves. There's Surya. And Catherine is not coming in. So let's just have Alex be the volunteer and Surya be the client, and then they can do a demonstration for us using the calculator.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hi, sorry, I couldn't figure this out, but I got it now.
Yay. Hi, Catherine.
Hi.
Awesome. And I think you've done it just the one time, but yeah, we'll have you be the client. Are you able to request control and present? Is that overkill?
I'm not quite sure. Let me see here if it's on my end. I don't know if I'm able to give control, but I can certainly, I will enter whatever is input, put it in, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, maybe then let's have Alex be the volunteer and Surya be the client.
Okay.
Hi, so have you applied for SNAP by chance before? You've
Yeah.
not?
I have not. This is my first time and I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no. So if you want, real quick, we can walk through our calculator I have here available to me. It should take us a couple minutes. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so the first question I have is, is anyone in your household a senior or a person with disabilities?
No.
Okay, awesome. Now I'm going to ask you a couple other questions after this. How many people are in your household?
6, including me.
Okay. Okay. Now the next one I'm going to ask you is how much does your household make an income?
My parents does. They make about 40,000 total.
Okay. So 40,000. Let's see here. Let me hop on my calculator real quick. Here, we'll walk through that. If it'll let me pop that up here. Oh, there we go. And then do you know if that is, do they receive Social Security or is that through a job that they have?
Yeah, that's through the job that they have. It's their like total income, like salary. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So 40,000, we'll divide that by 12. So that's $3,333. Okay. Now this next part here, we'll go ahead and skip that. Do you know if there's any childcare costs associated with the house? Like, do anyone in the household go to like daycare or a babysitter or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Now, is there any like child support costs associated with the house? Does anyone have to pay someone else child support?
No.
Okay. Perfect. And then finally, do you know roughly what your household's monthly rent or mortgage payment is?
Yeah, it's about $2,000.
Okay. Perfect. $2,000. And then in terms of utilities, do you know if your household pays all their utilities, some of them, or just the telephone? Or none at all?
No, we pay all of our utilities.
Okay. Awesome. That's all the information I need from you. Thank you. We're going to calculate here real quick.
Okay.
Okay. So based on this here, you would be eligible for SNAP benefits. You'd still have to apply, that is.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And you would actually receive about $412 a month based on this information here, if you were interested in applying. Would you like to set up an appointment? Would you be interested in sitting down with someone and talking more about the SNAP program?
Yes, please. Yeah. And what documents do I need to provide?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So, and what I would recommend is you sit down and talk to Rocio, here, my colleague over here, and she'll walk through like what information you'll need in terms of your application, and as well as sort of like finding a good time to sit down, because it'll take probably about anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour, depending on the information that is required.
Okay, and is this money, like, do I need to pay this money back later on?
No, as long as you're eligible, you will not have to pay this money back.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You guys, that was so good. I love it. That's super helpful, honestly, because it's been kind of like clunky to figure out like normal conversation ways in which to ask these questions. So I really like what Alex did, and he was just kind of like, hey, like just super chill about it, you know? So it wasn't like just weird and stiff, but just like part of like a normal human interaction. So I think there was a lot to learn from that role play session. And I think Surya, a lot of the questions that she asked were just regular questions that any of us would ask, you know? So I think that was really good, you guys. I really appreciate you doing the role play.
Always. Yeah, no, that was awesome. Now, did anyone have any questions about the calculator, or like questions about sort of engaging somebody, or trying to describe some of these questions?
And please, if you don't want to talk, feel free to put it in the comments, and Rocio and I can read it to Alex as well. So,
I have a question for you, Alex. How did you calculate expected gross earned income? Like there's 3333. How did you calculate it that?
Yeah, so you said that they made about $40,000 a year.
Uh-huh.
And so what I did is I took that 40,000 and divide that by 12,
Okay.
and that's where I got that number from.
Okay.
And you know, if they don't necessarily know, like they say, well, I make about X amount an hour. You know, you can go through and say, okay, so you make, you know, 17 or something like that, or say $10 an hour, and you work, you know, 20 hours a week, 40 hours a week. You can use a calculator, outside of this one, that is, to provide that estimate there. So it'd be like, okay, I work, you know, 20 hours a week for $10 an hour. You know, that's so they make $200 a week from that. You times that by 4, and that would give you your rough estimate for the monthly for earned income. And if they have multiple jobs where they make different rates there, you'll want to like just have a pad and paper available to you, so you're able to write down numbers, so you can then add those all together.
Okay, thank you. Sounds good.
Alex, could you explain what expected gross unearned income means?
Yes, no, that is a great question. So, so first of all, gross income is before taxes, right? So we're not asking after taxes. So if they have their pay stub or something like that, that the money that they get in their bank account, or the money they cash at the end of on payday, that is their net amount. Gross is what they receive initially before taxes, and unearned income is money that is something that they get outside of a job. So it could be things like Social Security benefits. It could be general assistance. It could be unemployment insurance. It could also be, say, someone in the household is receiving money from someone outside of the house. So say you have like a grandchild providing a grandparent $200 a month to help pay cover bills. That would be considered unearned income.
Awesome. That was helpful. Yeah, I think that's all I would say. I love the calculator. Catherine and I were playing with it the other day, and as soon as we hit calculate, we thought it was the whole page was going to refresh and show us the amount. And I am embarrassed to say that it took us like maybe 5 minutes to figure out that the amount was just gonna show, you know, towards the bottom. And we just kept clicking on calculate.
Oh, no.
And we were like, okay, but where's the amount? We can't see it. So FYI, if you are anything like me, it's not going to fully reload the page, but the amount is just gonna show over on the right-hand side of the calculate button. So just learn from Catherine and I's inexperience with the calculator, and hopefully it'll be easier for everyone else.
Yeah, and one of the I apologize for my cat. One of the good things as well, it'll let you know if someone is ineligible. So I'm going to go ahead and change this number here. So we're going to say they make $10,000 a month, right? You hit calculate. A pop-up will come here, and I've tried to figure out how to make this print slightly bigger, but basically it says that they're ineligible based on their income. So that'll let you know. So if you're putting this information in and you see a pop-up like this, it'll let you know, okay, they are ineligible based on their income amount. And then say you accidentally put in the wrong information. So say you, for whatever reason, you put a negative number in here, so negative $5,000. It'll also let you know that there's an incorrect value in there, so you can go and fix that.
And I just want to add, you can play with a calculator as much as you want. This doesn't trigger an application. This does not go anywhere. If you just, have a few minutes to kill and you just want to figure out how much Snow White would make with everyone in her household, you can just play around with it. And it helps all of us become a little bit more familiar with what their requirements are. And I guess it also helps us like make that conversation flow a lot more as we're talking to clients.
Go ahead and then, unless there's any other questions, I can go to the next slide if you'd like. All right. Let's see here. Open my screen share again. There it is. Okay, so talking points. This. So here is the flyer that I believe is at the Neighborhood House site, and there are two sides to it. So this is the front page, and it sort of outlines some of the information about SNAP when it comes to the application. So, for example, no verifications are needed to file an application. There will be verification processes after the application has been filed, but there's nothing up front. Also, there's programs called Expedited SNAP for those that are in dire need, where they receive benefits within 7 calendar days. People can also give us a call if they have questions. Our phone number is there. And I believe the number, there'll be a number on the flyers for Neighborhood House as well. And then also this little QR code here goes directly to our calculator. So if someone said they don't have time to walk the calculator with you, but they still want to, they can use that to go directly to the website. And here's the back of the flyer itself. And on the left-hand side here, the "Are you eligible for SNAP?" This is the income table for the time period. So if someone makes under this amount and based on their household size, they are likely eligible for SNAP benefits. Again, there are some other factors there that determine someone's eligibility, but that is sort of that first test, is if they make under that amount. And then again, there's some information in more detail about expedited SNAP, and then also what to expect when you're applying. So what to expect in terms of the online application versus a paper application, what they'll get in the mail, and then also who they can contact to do the next steps with the application itself. Are there any questions about the flyer? Hey. Yeah, and if someone so back to the seeing this as an opportunity to sort of have them engage with the staff doing SNAP application assistance at Neighborhood House, using that opportunity to engage them. So after you're going through the calculator, or if they have a question, referring to them, sort of doing that warm handoff is a great way. So that's a good question. Let's connect you with Rocio. Or I don't actually know the answer to that question, but Rocio may know. Or let's get you set up with an appointment. Here's her contact information. Here's her card. Feel free to reach out to her and get something scheduled. And then also, this is if you Rocio, do you want me to go over some of the more detailed portions of the slides after this, or should I hold off on that?
Let's see what the audience says.
Okay.
Ruth, would you be able to unmute yourself and just let us know, how are you doing? How is this feeling? Is this better than the first training that we did?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Mhm.
perfectly.
Okay, yes, this is much better than the first one. What I was worried about on that first one was so much information about when a person did not qualify. And I didn't know if it was appropriate for me to talk to the people about that. But today was great.
Awesome. That's so good. Would you like to learn more in-depth details today, or do we want to open up the floor for just questions and conversation? What do you think, Ruth? I always value your feedback.
Well, I would like to hear maybe some of the other concerns and questions from the other people on the call.
Awesome. Awesome. So who do you want to call on?
Well, who's KM?
Okay, KM's going. KM is Catherine. You have been summoned, Catherine. So we'll have Ruth mute herself. Catherine, unmute and let us know your thoughts, Catherine.
I don't have any questions.
I know we did the first one together where we had the tablet and we're trying to just go over these together. Do you feel like you've gotten from this training what you needed to approach folks and be like, hi friend, is this something that you want to look into? Or I guess what's been the most useful thing that you've learned today?
I guess the most useful thing I've learned is just like information about the website and like information about the SNAP program based on eligibility and things like that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's really awesome. So, Catherine, now you get to call on somebody else. Who do you want to call on?
SG, I guess.
Surya, that's you. Go for it, my friend.
Yeah, I do have some questions for you, Alex, actually, or everyone. So first of all, this presentation is like really helpful. Like in the beginning, when my family and I moved here, we did receive SNAP as well. But to learn, you know, more about it, more in-depth information, it's really good. My question for you is like regarding homeless individuals. So are like, can they, like, I know everyone who are who, you know, who are in who cannot afford food, or like who are financially unstable, they can qualify, but like what are the process for individuals who are homeless? Like, can they apply for it and get approved for SNAP as well?
That is a great question. Yes, they can. And in fact, there is some additional exemptions for individuals experiencing homelessness. So, so that is a target population for the state of Utah. So if someone is currently struggling with housing, and their housing is a barrier to finding employment or retaining employment, like they are encouraged to apply for SNAP. And so, like for example, sometimes they have that question with regards to an address. There's also a checkbox there that they can indicate if they're experiencing homelessness, and it'll provide that additional sort of like follow-up there in that event there. So yes, they can apply, and in fact, we encourage them to. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, Surya, after your very thoughtful question, you get to call on somebody too.
Yeah, wait, yeah, MP.
Maren, take it away. It might be the ghost of Marin. Marin, are you there? Okay, we're gonna call on Rogelio then. Rogelio, go for it.
So,
It's not his fault. I'm the one who's distracting him. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go now.
So, first of all, I do wanted to thank everyone. I don't know if you guys can see me. Okay, I wanted to thank everyone for being here at the training, and I really want to thank Alex for hosting this training. We really appreciate it. We're just for the volunteers to know, we are working right now with Alex, with Utah Against Hunger, with this initiative SNAP program. What you guys are going to be doing is going to be you guys are going to be our SNAP leaders. You guys are going to be here promoting the program and making sure that people are aware that there are opportunities for them and that there are resources that can help them provide for their families. So I do want to thank everyone for their time. I also wanted to say we're going to move forward with a follow-up email. This program is going to run alongside with Nourish to Flourish. So what we'll be doing is we're going to create and help you guys create a booth. We do have posters from for the SNAP as well as the flyers, like Alex said. We do have the flyers. So we want to make sure that now that we have the material, now that you guys have the training, it's like whenever you guys are here for Nourish to Flourish, and that's one of the things that I also wanted to discuss. If your time to come here to Nourish to Flourish is it's for a while, it's like for 3 weeks, we'll make sure to set up a time with you guys, whatever days works best for you, so you guys can start coming in right now, even though the Nourish to Flourish calendar is already occupied or full. So we're going to start following up with an email. Once again, I'm going to help you set up a booth next to Nourish to Flourish. We're going to find the logistics and we'll be able to talk to our clients. So our whole goal is to connect our community, our clients to these resources. So once again, thank you so much to everyone for their time. Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you so much, Rocio, for the activity. So yeah, if there's no questions, I believe that we run out of time. So yeah. So we are good then.
All right.
Awesome. So I'm going to stop this recording. Like I say, we are going to